Hello, welcome back to Speech Talk Live. This is episode number 63. My name is Jay Yoza. I'm the host of the show. I'm a mentor, teacher, speaker, and soon to be an author of a book called Speaking Moments. This particular episode, I focus on the Great Speaker series, and I had the privilege to interview a person that I consider to be a great speaker. His name is Darren Tay. But don't take my word for it. Darren is the current reigning world champion of public speaking. And this is a very prestigious title. It's a Toastmaster, if you know the Toastmaster organization, they have this competition that starts in January and it ends in, I believe, in around September timeframe, where Darren had to beat out close to 30,000 participants. So you had to go through all these different events, local club to district, to get to the point of national and then international. So Darren is an international world champion. I mean, I used to be in Toastmaster, and I don't even think I even became a club champion. So this is a big deal. Okay, so I wanted to talk to Darren and see what we can learn from Darren. And Darren, as you'll see, is a really young man. He accomplished this at a age, I think he's in his mid 20s. So I wanted to find out, like, hey, how did you do it? How did you start your public speaking journey? What got you into public speaking? Because as we all know, public speaking is hard. You got to put in so much time. You almost have to become like a speaking athlete. So I wanted to find out, what is it that I can learn and we all can learn together from what Darren has accomplished. So maybe, it may not help us become a world champion of public speaking if that's not what we want to pursue, but it can help us whether we're going for a job interview or at a networking event or a business meeting or perhaps even a conference. So when you watch this, I start the show by kind of finding out about Darren's public speaking journey. And as you'll see, it came down to a teacher that motivated him, that inspired him, and said, Darren, you have the talent. You got to pursue this. And then he joined the Toastmasters, and then he started competing. And in 2016, he became a world champion of public speaking. And now Darren now is a motivational speaker. He's a coach. He's a teacher, and he's a speaker. And also, he's already published a book, and he's going to be coming out with another book real soon. So this has helped Darren really pursue his passion of public speaking, but also to give to a larger community out there internationally, because there are a lot of people who have tremendous fear in speaking, and because of that, they're not achieving the maximum out of their life. And Darren's mission is to change that, give people tools, techniques so that they can do it. And when you see him, he's a very modest guy, and he says, "Look, if I can do it, you can do it too." So we talk about that, and we focus on the speech that won him the championship. It's titled "Outsmart, Outlast," and I wanted to find out, what was his preparation like? What were some of the things that he did while he was giving the speech that helps him connect with the audience? And also, what are some of the things that we can take away from that? So watch this show, get your pen and book ready, because you're going to be writing down a lot of notes on this one. And I learned a lot. And I think if you watch it more than once, you will also pick up a lot of interesting, important techniques and tips that he gives. So enjoy the show. And as usual, let me know what you think. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, let me know so that I can bring more of these type of guests like Darren, so that we can all improve our public speaking skills and become world champion in anything we want to pursue. Okay? So enjoy the show and let me know what you think. Thank you. Hello, welcome to the Great Speaker Series. This is part of the show that I do called Speech Talk Live. And whenever I invite a great speaker, it becomes part of the Great Speaker Series.
And today I'm really privileged to have Darren Tay as the guest. And Darren is a reigning world champion of public speaking. It's from Toastmasters. So he's right now the reigning world champion. And Darren is also an author, and he's based out of Singapore. And I believe he's one of the youngest winner of this award. So it's very prestigious. He had to beat out, I guess, close to 30,000 people. So, Darren, welcome to the show. And I'm really glad that we can finally connect and get to your insight, because I'm really looking forward to talking to you. It's something we've been planning for some time. So Darren, if you can just start out, add more to the introduction, kind of tell us a little bit about who you are and how did you get into public speaking, and kind of give us your overall public speaking journey. How did you get to the point where you're now the current world champion of public speaking?
Thank you. First and foremost, thank you very much, Jay, for having me on the show. And indeed, I'm very happy and privileged to be sharing my personal insights and strategies that worked for me with your fellow audience members. So a little bit more about myself. In fact, I would say that currently I'm working as a professional trainer, and one of my specialties is to help individuals be more confident and to help give them the effective communication skills so that they can use it whether at work or in school. So how I started with public speaking, it all started back in the year 2003, if I'm not wrong. That was when I was age 14. So at age 14, I was very shy, very reserved individual. And whenever there's an in-class participation, I'll be the one that's, just doing the behind the scenes work. I will never be the one to stand in front of the entire class and to present. Then one day, my English language teacher, she gave me the ultimatum. She told me, Darren, enough is enough. If you don't present this time round, I'm going to make sure that you fail your English language exam. Now in Singapore, this is a big deal, because if you were to fail English language, no matter how well you do for your mathematics, your science, your humanities, you would fail automatically. So I took that very seriously, and I could recall that the night before, I was rehearsing at least 20 to 30 times in front of a mirror, because a guru once told me that you had to rehearse in front of the mirror. And the speech was a book review on Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So I can never forget that on the day of the performance itself, I did my absolute best because I did not want to fail my English language exam. And I can never forget what my English language teacher said. When I was done, she turned to the entire class, she faced them, and then she said, "This is how you should all present next time." So one statement of affirmation from the English language teacher had a huge impact for me. And that didn't stop there. The following week, she wanted me to present the same book review at the school library. Now, this time around, it was quite special. She designed posters and placed those posters all over the school. The posters read, "Watch Darren Tay do live. A book review, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone." And I'm so proud to share with you that at the end of the marketing campaign, no one turned up for my talk. Because who would want to watch a clown, me, at that point in time, to do a book review during recess time? So guess what the English language teacher did? The week after that, she forced 3 of her English language classes to stay back during recess just to watch me do the book review. Now, you can imagine how much they all hated me, right? But I was so fortunate that she also invited the debate teacher in charge to sit in. And that was how I was invited to join a debate team, and that was how my speaking career took flight.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. Is that on videotape somewhere that we can see it?
The actual speech that I did when I was age 14, I was still trying to find out, but I did have a collection, and I did amassed the previous videos that I did about maybe 5-6 years ago. So it's a huge difference, in fact.
So that's when you found out that you had this unique talent of public speaking. That's what kind of motivated you that I wanted to pursue this further. Was that so you had a very good teacher who really saw your talent, and she really encouraged you and kind of motivated you to pursue that further. Is that when you started your public speaking journey?
Correct. That was, I would say, the catalyst of change for me, to have that kind of paradigm shift that when it comes to public speaking, you need not be a natural talent. So I wasn't one. At age 14, I was still shy, reserved, and all. But it's not so much of nature, but it's more of nurture. that nurtures a professional speaker, that makes a professional speaker at the end of the day. So I would say that it was that life-changing experience that I had when I was age 14 that got to me to where I am today.
Right. So at what point did you join Toastmasters? Was it like right after that? And then in Toastmasters, you made a tremendous progress. So kind of talk a little bit about when did you join Toastmasters and then why did you join Toastmasters?
I joined Toastmasters in 2009. I recall that it was February. And I joined Toastmasters primarily because I wanted, number one, a platform for me to hone my effective communication skills. And Toastmasters is a good platform because in the professional circuit, if you were to do a bad job, people may boo you off stage. But when it comes to a Toastmasters meeting, if you do a bad job, instead of booing you off stage, people give you a standing ovation. So that was one of the main impetus for me to join Toastmasters. And the second reason why I joined Toastmasters was because Toastmasters allowed me to hone not just on-stage speaking skills, but more importantly, interpersonal communication skills. So the ability to walk up to a stranger, whatever background the stranger has, and then to exchange pleasantries, to sustain a conversation, and to foster closer connections. So that was the second reason.
Right. Because one of the things I also encourage people to do who don't have a lot of experience in talking in front of people is to join Toastmasters, because I think you mentioned in your book, by the way, I didn't get to show your book. Darren wrote an excellent book called Express to Impress. And in there, you actually mentioned something that you quoted one of the previous world champions, Darren LaCroix, I believe his name is pronounced.
Yeah, correct.
And you said he says it best: stage time, stage time, stage time. So I think that I agree with that completely, that at some point you can, prepare your speech, but you got to get in front of people and give it, because that's when you're going to learn it, how well you're resonating, how well you're connecting, and how the audience is reacting to your speech. So when you're in Toastmaster, like how active were you? Because from 2009 to now, you went from basically joining Toastmasters. I know they have all kinds of different levels you have to go through. This is just so that people who are watching can understand that when you start, you give typically, I believe, I used to be in Toastmasters, 10 speeches, and then you kept on pursuing it further and further to get more advanced. So can you talk a little bit about that? And when did you decide that now you wanted to really compete, and why did you decide to actually go? Because I didn't go into competition. I just wanted to give my speeches and learn from that. But you went further, so I want to find out, like, when did you decide that you wanted to actually become a competitive public speaker?
Sure. In fact, the Toastmasters movement does give you a lot of opportunities for you to accumulate stage mileage. And in fact, when it comes to public speaking, it's similar to other skills like cycling and swimming. We can't really learn it just by watching a video on YouTube or reading a book about it, but we can learn and acquire skills to hone and sharpen those skills by acquiring stage opportunities. And that's why the stage mileage is extremely important. Toastmasters give you that. Now, the Toastmasters movement, they're split into two main tracks. And you first have the education track, and then the other one is the leadership track. So for individuals who are looking to improve their communication skills, they start off with what we call the basic manual. The basic manual is called the Competent Communicator Manual. There are 10 projects altogether. And there's no pass or fail in Toastmasters. Essentially, it's a peer evaluation system where someone more senior would provide his or her feedback to your presentation. And then you just progress accordingly. For me, it wasn't just about doing the projects in a step-by-step manner, but I wanted to challenge myself more. And I realized that when I entered the contest arena, I started to take things more seriously. And the moment you know that you only have 7 minutes and 30 seconds to persuade and convince or inspire the audience, then you really not just write the speech once and hopefully wing it, you will write it many times. And as the famous saying goes, a great speech is not just written, but a great speech is rewritten many, many times. And the contest arena definitely gives you that opportunity.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about what you had to go through. So now you're in Toastmasters and you're giving speeches, you're competing. So when did you decide? Was this your first time that you decided I want to go out and compete to become a world champion of public speaking? And kind of like what are different stages you have to go through to get to that final stage? And what was that like? So people understand what it takes to get to where you are, because they might think like, wow, they just took some 10 people and they put them on a stage and Darren won. So I want you to kind of explain to people what it takes, like what the whole process is, and people start saying, okay, I want to compete to become the world champion of public speaking. So kind of give people an idea what's involved in getting to where you are right now, the world champion.
Sure. Sure. In fact, many people ask me, what is the whole competition all about? So the competition in Toastmasters, there are many different kinds of speech contests. We have things like humorous speech contest. So the contestants will compete to see who's more funny, more humorous, with a message, of course. And then there's the table topics contest to test you on your ability to react fast on your feet and to be able to give your response to an impromptu topic. Then there's, of course, others like evaluation speeches and tall tales, which I shall not delve into. But our main focus in my response now is the International Speech Contest. As the name suggests, it is international. So every single year, we have more than 30,000 individuals from about 142 countries competing for that podium finish. This particular competition, it's the largest competition in the world. It's like the Olympics for public speaking. And the challenge is we only have 7 minutes and 30 seconds to inspire, influence, persuade, convince, and inform the audience members. Sometimes we don't even have the opportunity to interact with the audience. We need to be able to establish rapport on the spot. So it starts out at the club level. So the club level, it's the most basic level. Everyone competes. Now, there are about, if I'm not wrong, in each district, there are a lot of different clubs under each district. So the total number of clubs in Toastmasters, now I'm not exactly very sure. If I'm not wrong, could be 13,000. That one I will need to check. But if, let's say, we go with 13,000, this is basically how it works. Each club will have a contest, and then the club champion will emerge. Now, after the club champion is emerged, a few club champions will compete at the next level, at the area level. And only one can emerge as the champion. And therefore, the area champion is emerged. Several area champions will compete at the next level. We call it the division. And then after that, only one champion can emerge. Several division champions will compete at the next level, the district level. And again, only one champion can emerge. Now, there are a total of 98 to 99 districts in the whole world. And at the semifinals, last year, it was held at the capital state of US, Washington, D.C., USA. 98 of the best speakers in the world, after going through all those stages, they compete for the top 10 spots at the grand finals of the World Championship of Public Speaking. So I was one of the grand finalists, and then at that point in time, it was already a huge achievement for me. It was a dream come true for me already. Whether or not I win or attain podium finish, it was something extra. It was just to push myself and see how much more I can push, I can attain. Yeah. So eventually, at the grand finals, out of 10, I emerged as the world champion of public speaking.
Yeah, that's excellent. Excellent. Just winning a club championship is a tremendous accomplishment. So the overall, this process takes an entire year. Does it get started for the next year right after somebody becomes a champion? Is that a 1-year process? Is that how long it takes?
It starts in January, or February each year, and then it ends or culminates at the August International Annual Convention. So it's about 8 months.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
So let's focus on that. I believe that each of the speeches you give at each different contest have to be different. So it's not like you have one speech and you just keep giving it and keep winning. So all the speeches you're giving are different for each competition. Is that correct?
Well, for the club, area, division, district, and semifinals, you can use that one speech. The only thing is that because you're competing at various levels, and sometimes you're competing within your own country, some speakers may make the strategic decision to change the content of their speech at different levels. But the rule only requires you to give 2 speeches. That means the grand final speech must be an entirely new speech. It cannot be the same speech that you delivered at the semifinals or at any of the other levels. So the grand final speech must be entirely different.
Right. So that's good. So let's go. We can segue into so Darren, what is your process so that people understand? Since what you developed was judged by many, and they judged you as the winner. Now, again, to point out, just getting to that final stage is a tremendous accomplishment. In fact, you're all winners. But I want to kind of understand, just so that our audience understands, that even it'll help me. What is your process? Because you had to craft and create a message and create and deliver a performance. What was your process like, so that people get an idea that here's how a champion does it, so that if we have to give a speech, we can kind of learn from the process that you go through or you went through. And I'm sure you're still currently using the same process whenever you have to give a different speech.
Correct. So in giving a presentation, many people ask me, in the many different components like delivery skills, content, strategy, time management, of which one do I think is the most important? I would say anytime content is king, because at the end of the day, you can have the best of delivery skills, but if you don't make any sense, there's no substance in your speech, then it's not going to work at all. The audience members, they are not dumb. They are in fact very intelligent, and they can tell whether it's just pure hot smoke or whether you have some substance within you. So the best way for you to craft a solid speech is not to try and start with a story per se. Start off with a message first. Start off with a speech message that you truly want to send. That speech message needs to pass what I call, in my judgment, 2 litmus tests. The first litmus test that any speech message must pass is it needs to be something that you're very passionate about. Because chances are, if you're not passionate about the topic, if you cannot convince yourself, it's not likely for you to be able to convince the audience members. Some of my friends and clients ask me, Darren, if I'm very passionate in many different things, how do I sieve out and filter such that I have that one key message that I can share? What I often share with them is that the entire funneling process is not going to take place overnight. Many people, when they take part in a contest, they expect the night before, the week before, they'll be able to sieve that out. So my advice to them is that crafting and preparing for a speech starts as early as a few months back, or for me, starts as early as 1 or 2 years back for that contest 2016. So finding out that passion of yours requires you to take some time to reflect on what are the key objectives, what are some of the things that truly matter to you. Let me just give you some general advice. Most of the time, whatever key message you want to share must tend to lead the audience members to one of the 4 pillars. Number 1, it needs to tend to lead them to acquire more happiness. Number 2, more purpose, a greater sense of purpose in life. Number 3 would be prosperity, and that's why you see a lot of YouTube videos, advert videos, prompts a lot of individuals to click, because it tends to lead to prosperity. Earn $15,000 in the next 3 months as passive income. Wow, that gets everyone excited. And of course, the final pillar would be freedom. And once you pass the first litmus test, which is that of passion, you then move on to the second litmus test, and this is quite important, which is it needs to be universal in nature. Because even if your own passion is that I can drink 5 gallons of milk in 2 minutes, the thing is, if it's not universal enough, it is not going to apply to the audience members enough. Chances are no one is going to care, save for a few minority, drinking 5 gallons of milk in 2 minutes. So it needs to pass the 2 litmus tests. There are, of course, many techniques. The moment you find that speech message, we then need to layer it over with many other strategies, like storytelling strategies. For example, we know that while facts tell, stories sell. But what most trainers don't tell you is that not all stories are created equal. There are several techniques and elements in an impactful story. So anyone can tell a story, but for someone to tell an impactful story, there's some key ingredients in it.
Right. That's an excellent way. And then, so let me just kind of make sure. So first, you said the content is the king, and for that, the main thing is you got to come up with that compelling message that you're passionate about, and it's kind of universal in nature.
Yeah.
Then the thing that I see that in your presentation, which is so impressive, is your performance. Can you talk about how do you then, so you have your content, you have your message, but still there's that one piece that I think is very important when it comes to public speaking, is that the audience have to really feel it now. And what you did so well in that speech, Outsmart, Outlast, is it's almost like you're acting there. I know you're not a professional actor, but the way you perform on that is just so riveting. It's like you just capture people's attention. So how did you create that performance?
So once I've decided and froze and managed to freeze the design of my speech, that means I'm settled with the content. I've tested before live audience, and I know that's what the audience members want. The next aspect that I need to work on would be the delivery of that particular speech. Because when it comes to making public speeches right now, it's not just about standing in front of the podium, making those grand opening speeches of the past. The way people consume information right now with a very short attention span requires public speakers to evolve in their approach when it comes to delivery. And it's not so much about just giving them info. That means we're not looking at just purely an educational session, but there must be entertainment as well. So that's why there's a famous saying, or the famous word is, it's not education, but it's edutainment. It needs to be both entertaining, yet at the same time educational. But many people may misconstrue the term entertaining as making a fool of yourself on stage. Well, entertaining does not mean that. Entertaining means that you need to be able to craft the story in a riveting manner, be able to use humor in your presentation to lower defensive shields of the audience, and more importantly, use consistent high energy when it comes to engaging the audience. People can sit in front of the TV screen and watch Netflix for several hours, but the moment they listen to a boring speech, just 30 seconds into it, they will just switch off. So how is it that you can constantly engage them like how they would sit in front of a TV and watch a Netflix video? It is to know exactly where to stand on stage, how to use your gestures, how to use your eye contact such that it's a conversation with the audience members. Your vocal variety makes a lot of difference as well to distinguish it from a monotonous delivery to one that is more dynamic in nature. So public speaking is really an art, and it requires a lot of such attention and awareness to these various elements.
So Darren, have you taken voice lessons and acting lessons? Was that something you did before in your process as you were working towards becoming a competitive speaker? Was that part of something that you did, or is this just something you just developed on your own?
For me, acting, I've never attended any formal acting lessons, but what I've attended would be formal public speaking and debate training sessions with my coaches, both locally and internationally as well. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that when we are using dialogue in our presentation, we try as far as possible to be as authentic, and more importantly, to try and mimic exactly that particular moment when we experience that, so that you can bring the audience members to your world and experience it just as you have experienced it at that point in time, whether it's several years ago or several months ago. The only thing to take note of is the bigger the stage, the more you need to amplify those actions and the more you need to amplify those gestures. Because if it's a smaller stage, fine. With smaller, more nuanced gestures, that's fine. But the moment you go onto a big stage, unless you have a huge camera and two big screens to capture all your micro facial expression and gestures, it's going to be quite hard for the audience members to feel the impact. So one thing that I had to do was to constantly claim stage mileage on bigger stages and to be able to fine-tune my act. It wasn't an easy process. It wasn't just something that was an overnight thing, but it required a lot of consistent hard work. People don't see the behind the scenes. People only see the end product. But for a 7 minutes, 30-second speech, I pretty much used at least 7 months to prepare for it.
Right, and I'm going to include the link for the speech that you gave, and I think people should watch it and actually study it, because I've watched it like probably maybe 10 times already. It's a 7-minute speech, but Darren does so many things that you can learn from. I learned a lot from it. There are two questions from that specific. The one is to do with risk taking. You took a lot of risk in that speech. And it's something I want you to comment on it, because a lot of people, when they give speeches, they don't take risks. And risk taking, I think, was something I'd like to find out what you think about that. And there were a lot of risks that you took. The other thing that I think that was very effective that a lot of people don't do, which you did so well, is that you are interacting, you're kind of communicating with the audience by constantly asking them questions. So even though you are giving this speech in front of, I think you mentioned there were 2,000 people, but the feeling you're getting is that you're talking to individual one-on-one, like, hey, have you gone through this? Hey, bullying is not only external, but it's also internal. And it's almost like you're talking to me. Even when I watch it on YouTube, I feel like you're directly talking to me. And that I thought was amazing, that people can learn from the way you did that. So can you talk a little bit about those, and maybe if there are other techniques that you use, but definitely the risk-taking, the way you interact with the audience, and again, the passion that you show during that entire speech.
Correct. No problem. Happy to. And also thank you for including the link so that for audience members who are watching this, if they are not familiar with the video, they can also take a look at it. And if individuals who like to have the subtitles in different languages, they are also available. So what I did was to in fact have that video subtitled in many different ways on my YouTube channel. Now, to tackle those two issues that you have raised, the first one, that of risk. So what I would like to do first is to qualify risk as a concept by saying that when it comes to risk taking, there are many different kinds of risk. And for me, I'm more comfortable with not reckless risk taking. I'm more comfortable with a different brand or different strand of risk. And I call that calculated risk. What do I mean by calculated risk? It means that as I use that routine, as I use that prop, as I use that particular act, I had the opportunity of testing it out either with a very seasoned mentor or to test it out with a live audience so that I pretty much know what the reaction is likely going to be. Would it be over the top? Would it be overwhelming? So I was very fortunate to be able to test that out with a very seasoned mentor of mine. The risk that I took was more of, instead of worrying whether or not I would perform well, I decided to think from the audience member's point of view. What is the best and most effective way for me to transmit that message to them? Now, the risk that we're talking about here is wearing the underwear outside my pants, which was indeed what happened when I was bullied at age 14. So when I wore the underwear outside my pants, and I asked the audience members, now, how many of you felt that, hey, I've been wearing the underwear outside my pants for 5 minutes, that's too long? Everyone said, yeah, that's way too long. But then that paved the way for me to ask the second more compelling question, that is, if you felt 5 minutes was long, then how long have you been wearing your invisible underwear outside your pants? And that was the moment that the audience member said, aha, because my speech was about dealing with internal and external bullying. So whenever we use a prop taking such calculated risk, the key question we need to ask ourselves is, does it in any way advance the key message of our speech? If it does not, it's a mere gimmick just to get some laughters, then it's not going to work. It's not going to sit quite well. But if it does advance, then it's good to go. The next thing is, many a times when we try and take calculated risk, there will be some individuals, now well-meaning individuals, who will come up to you and say that probably won't work. They have good intentions. But the thing is, many a times when I asked my seasoned mentors, they always tell me this: it really depends on who you ask. When you do ask, say, the general audience member, some of them may be reflecting their own fears upon you. And because they are not willing to try that out, therefore they would tell you that is too risky a move. You would then need to, of course, not just ask a certain pool, increase the pool size so that you get a more diverse view, and feel free to seek your mentor's opinion as well. Because that was what happened for the previous world champions. When people say that, oh, falling flat on the face, on the floor will not work, the world champion did it. Someone said, don't use audience participation by asking them questions. The world champion in the year 2000 did it as well. So it is, again, about breaking barriers, and I think you should be more interested and concerned with. The second issue is that of how is it that you can make it more conversational with the audience members. When it comes to public speaking now, it's not really about speaking to the audience. It's more about having a conversation with them. How do you have a conversation with them? There are several techniques involved, and here I'd like to share the most important of which, and that is eye contact. Now, when it comes to eye contact, many speakers think that, oh, all I have to do is to just pan across the room, just sweep across the room. Now, that is what we call conventional knowledge. It's very traditional. The more contemporary knowledge is we need to speak with the audience members, speaking to 1,000, but yet create an impression as if you're speaking just to one. How do you do that? It is, instead of panning and sweeping, you pick any audience member, can be at random. When the moment you locked on to one audience member, stay with the person for at least 2 to 3 seconds before you have your eye contact move on to another party, instead of just simply sweeping. And just trying this technique out for a short period of time, even 30 seconds, makes a huge difference. So those are my 2 responses to the 2 key issues.
Excellent. Those are excellent tips. And the second one is the one I had to work on because I had to learn how to make that eye contact, and also the ability to get them involved by making them feel like that this is something relatable to them.
Right.
Just we're about to pretty much we're close to finishing this. So if somebody's listening to this or watching this and they want to like asking like I want to do it, what do you suggest they do to get started? Some of the people are always talking about, I'm sure you've heard many of them or you've come across them. Oh, I'd like to join this, I'd like to join that, but they just don't do it. What word of advice do you have for them to get them started, to kind of get them just like, what is the one simple thing they can do to start their public speaking journey?
I think one of the best ways to start is, in fact, to learn from some of the established speakers and to find out about the mistakes that they have made before, so that it shortens your learning curve exponentially. Now, if only I had a mentor to tell me, say that, oh, next time when you do a rehearsal, make sure you do a full dress rehearsal. And that was the mistake that I made. And looking back, if there's one thing that I could change for my grand finals presentation, was to the few days or 1 or 2 days before have a full dress rehearsal, because I almost tripped and fell while wearing the underwear. That's because in the hotel room when I rehearsed, yes, it was full dress with suit and tie, but I failed to wear my shoes. So that is something to take note of. And had I been told about that, I think that would have helped me greatly. So my tip to anyone who's watching this is, in order for you to start, always grab a mentor. And this mentor can be anyone whom you respect and look up to. It can be a mentor at a local speaking club, Toastmasters, or even a professional mentor that you engage. So what I do is that, because I've gleaned a lot from the Toastmasters movement and through my own years of practice and training and coaching, I thought of also giving back to the community. And that's why if you looked at my YouTube channel, if you just type Darren Tay and see it, I do upload on a weekly basis some training videos of some of the insights that perhaps I can share with the audience members, and you don't have to make the same mistakes that I made previously. And I believe in also giving free resources. That's why my website, darrentay.com, I just upload a lot of free tips and all. So those are very suitable for individuals who are comfortable with DIY. That means you watch and then you learn it on your own, you do trial and error and test. There are some individuals who, of course, prefer to engage a professional trainer, whether it's me, whether it's anyone else, whatever the case may be, just need to make sure that you're comfortable working with the person. Whoever they are engaged as a mentor and whoever a mentor agrees to work with me, we always do a two-way interview to find that that is a good match. So those are the general advice. And one final piece of advice for anyone who's starting out, and that is, you don't have to be great to start out. People think that you need to be perfect and then you go up there and you do a presentation. But the thing is, it's not really about chasing after perfection. All you have to do is to just strive for excellence will do. Because many a times when we try and make it perfect, the perfect YouTube video, the perfect advertising video or Facebook Live video, we never get started. So just get started and you'll be amazed at the kind of results that you achieve.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add, and I think I might have seen in one of your videos, is that today I think it's a lot easier for some people who are busy. They may not be able to attend a local Toastmaster, or there may not be one good one near where they live. But I think today with the video camera technology, you can get a pretty good idea. You don't need to stand in front of a mirror to do it. You can just record it on a video.
Yes.
And that's how I started. And I think as of today, I have close to 600 videos now on YouTube. So,
wonderful.
So I think it's like what you just said. You start with one, the first one. And I mean, many of them are probably ugly, but there are a few good ones. If you record 600 of them, at least get.
Oh, you're too humble.
10%
I'm sure they're good.
of the clips are going to be good. So out of 600, there are 60 of them that are probably, or maybe even 6 of them are probably pretty good. So, Darren, I have 3 final questions. These are pretty fast ones.
Sure.
And these are the ones that I ask people who come on the show.
Sure.
Who are some of the speakers that you consider today are great speakers that you kind of like look up to and saying, wow, these are the speakers who really do it well? Who are some of the ones that you look up to?
Sure. So I wanted to add one thing, and that is, for the rehearsing in front of a mirror, you're absolutely right. In fact, I wouldn't recommend for people who are starting out to rehearse in front of a mirror, because it is very limited and you can't really observe certain body language leakages, especially stage positioning. And in particular, if you want to play it back for a mentor to review, especially if the mentor is not living in the same country, then doing it in front of a mirror is not going to work. So investing in a video cam, that's perfect. And to go to your question as to who are some of the speakers that I look up to a lot, I look up to speakers who are essentially very authentic and able to connect with the audience members. And I also look up to speakers who might not share the same speaking style as I do, because Different speakers have different speaking styles. Some is the more energetic, high impact, passionate kind with lots of movement and body language, which I associate with. And some other individuals, they are very calm, eloquent, sharp with their words, but yet be able to hold the audience members' attention. Some of the other speakers can even just sit down and present or stick their hands into their jeans, but yet speaking from the heart can still allow them to connect with the audience. So who are some of the speakers that I look up to? One of whom I would say Tony Anthony Robbins, a renowned, world-renowned global motivational speaker on personal development. The thing that I like about his presentation is the high energy, and because I see similar speaking style, I do hope that, and I learn a lot of things from him as well. So the audience engagement, asking of questions, and being able to respond on the spot, I think those are wonderful attributes that any speaker should have. The other speaker that I look up to a lot is, in fact, the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. When he speaks, he has a special flair to be able to remain cool, calm, composed, but yet at the same time give a hint to the audience members that he's someone who truly cares for their interest. And I think that that is very admirable. And another speaker that I admire a lot is, in fact, the late Prime Minister of Singapore, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Now, his speaking style is quite different from, say, Tony Anthony Robbins or Barack Obama. His speaking style is one that is very measured, very poised. It's slow, well-paced, but because he has to deliver those points, difficult concepts across clearly and crisply to the audience members. And I felt that, yeah, those were some of the moments, powerful moments I could learn from. One of my bad habits is that I tend to speak too fast, and maybe at the same time, not insert appropriate pauses. And these are the things that I can learn from the strengths of these great speakers.
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned, Tony Robbins. Yeah, I agree. Tony Robbins is a great speaker. And one of the things I always like when he's speaking, he always goes to the audience and says, "Say ah!" He always gets them to say ah. I always like when he does that. That's my favorite part. Now, you do so many things well when you're speaking. Is there one thing that that you do that makes you such a terrific speaker? Like if you had to pick out all the things that you do, what is that one thing that say, you know, this is one thing that I do that is just, that works almost all the time?
One thing that I do is that I really enjoy the stage, and I let that show and be manifested physically in the form of my energy level, in the form of the way I work the stage when I do my presentations. Because I let the audience members know that I'm very excited to be there. And the thing is, the moment the speaker is energetic, the speaker portrays that, the audience members rubs on to the speaker's energy and get brought to the different energy level. Whenever I do a keynote or presentation, I would love for my audience members to feel inspired at the end of the day, so that when they feel inspired, it's something that will carry with them for a period of time and would prime them for optimal performance in other areas as well. So I hope that, of course, the audience members like that, and most of them do give me very positive feedback on it. So if that's the one thing I would say, the kind of enjoy being on stage, translated and manifested in the form of the energy level and enthusiasm.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I'll just make a comment on it. That one of the things that I think, again, not to that enjoying, but I think one of the things that I noticed is that people who are very effective speakers is that they're very likable. And likability is something very few people ever point out. But likability is so important. Like when you're on the stage, right from the get-go, you're like, I don't know what he's going to say, but I like this guy. And I don't know how you do it, but that is a very important aspect of public speaking, that people immediately make that decision. I like this guy. I want to see what he has to say. Whereas others, people get a different opinion, like, I don't like this guy. I don't know whether it's a much tougher sell when you're not likable right from the get-go. The last question is, what is the last thing you say to yourself before you go on the stage to kind of motivate yourself?
Sure. In fact, just to very quickly add on to the point, I totally agree with you. Likability as a speaker is a powerful factor for any sort of presentation. And one of the best ways to boost likability, as I mentioned on my website as well, is to be vulnerable enough in front of the audience members to share your failures and not just flaunting your successes. Because the audience members buy into your failures rather than buy into your successes. No one wants to hear a speaker that places himself or herself up on the pedestal and then just flaunting all the achievements. Audience members want to know, hey, this speaker is like me. I can learn something from him. instead of thinking, oh, but that is him, that is not me. Good for him, but I can't learn something from him. So likability is always also about being comfortable enough to be vulnerable in front of the audience members. What is one thing that I tell myself before going on stage? In fact, the one thing before I tell myself is what I do. I do mindfulness practice, that is to get in tune with the breathing and to get in tune with the physical sensation of body. That's the most important thing that I do before I go on stage. That's my power routine. And just before I take the stage, it's just to tell myself, just enjoy the stage. The moment you take your focus away from you, instead of telling yourself, I will remember my lines, I will be funny, instead of putting the focus and spotlight on you, the moment you change and place the spotlight on the audience members by saying, I'm going to enjoy the stage, I'm going to focus on the audience members in delivering massive value to them, it's just going to work out. And the audience members can actually feel whether or not it's just about you on stage or whether it's about giving them the message, giving them the massive value.
Excellent. So Darren, let me, before we end this, let me thank you for coming on the show. You gave us some excellent tips, techniques, and even though we may never get to be a world champion, but at least now we know what it feels like, what it takes to become a world champion. Maybe not world champion in front of in Toastmasters, but at least world champion in any kind of speeches that we're giving. And I think you've given us a lot of good information here. So I want to thank you for your generosity and everything you do to really motivate people, because this is a very important skill, and especially as the world is getting more complex, public speaking is becoming very important. You got to, and you kind of show it well, how you can capture people's attention and convey a message in roughly 7 minutes. And I'm sure if you could even do it in much less than that, but in 7 minutes you can convey so much, and you clearly demonstrate that in that Outsmart, Outlast speech. If people want to learn more about you and what you do and where they can purchase, and I believe you're about to come out with another book, what is the best place they can turn to get more information? Because I know what you said, you keep producing more and more videos almost every week, and I've seen some of them. They're excellent. I like the one where you tell people and kind of tell them this is what you did. You chopped off your speeches into bits, and that's how you then put it together. That's an excellent tip, which I always give people too. So there's a lot of good information for people who are watching it. Where is the place they can turn to get additional information?
So if they wish to get my cheat sheet of the shortcuts and the accelerated way to improve their speech, whether it's the speech craft, that means the mechanics behind it, as well as the delivery skills, they can download their free copy on darrentay.com. So Darren spelled with 2 R, darrentay.com. Or if they wish to go online, all these videos are free. It's on YouTube, and I'm not selling anything on YouTube. So individuals can actually go onto my YouTube channel, just type Darren Tay in the search engine, and you'll be able to see my search engine there. So if you are interested to find out more, if you have more questions to ask me, you can feel free to drop me an email, which is support@darrentay.com.
Right. And Darren, is there anything you want to add? Any questions that I forgot to ask you that you want to go over before we end the show?
I think I want to leave the audience members with something that resonates very deep within me. At the end of the day, you don't become a world-class speaker the moment you get the trophy. You truly only become a world-class speaker when you enjoy the stage and you place the audience members at the #1 priority. So always be very audience-centric instead of self-centric when in crafting speeches, messages, and in delivery as well. Some people may say that public speaking is a skill that's not relevant to me, something that I hate, I'm not good at. But I would challenge you to rethink that, because I started from where I am. Nurture over nature is the way to go, and it's never too late for you to start. Public speaking is going to be the very relevant skill, and it's a soft skill that cannot be outsourced. While next time round, machines can automate and outsource a lot of things, leadership skills, entrepreneurship, and the ability to communicate your thoughts well cannot be outsourced. So do give it a very serious thought and enjoy the public speaking journey.
Right. And Darren, thank you very much. And I really appreciate everything you do to advance this skill so that people can understand it and start actually doing it. So you're an inspiration to everyone. So I want to thank you, and looking forward to all the great work that you're doing and hopefully will be doing in the future.
Sure. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for the opportunity. And I wish you all the very best in everything that you do. You're doing great work as well.
Thank you.